And greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to your weekly dose of newsy infotainment. It is Let's Be Treasonable, coming to you live on tape. I say that every week. One of these days, I will actually get it right. But coming to you from the luxurious studios of Radio Titans here in Los Angeles with your panel of cognitive dissidents. On the panel this week, I am your host, Dr. David Robinson. We are joined by first-time panelist, Kat Alvarado, comedian, wonderful person. Thank you for coming here, Kat.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Joining us again, always a pleasure to have her in the studio, Raja Michael.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. And the black voice of reason, Mr. Tymon Shipp.
Power to the people. We are here again on this fine Saturday. Wow.
That we are. And the world is falling apart around us, but it is a beautiful day in Los Angeles. So we are taking that. And
the sun is shining during the apocalypse. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Still need the sunscreen. It's still happening. And we are also joined via the magic of pre-recorded sound by Mr. Will Durst, 5-time Emmy nominee commentator with this week's Burst of Durst.
Guys, Will Durst here with a few choice words about how exciting the news is these days. Too exciting. Like the pre-credits sequence of a science fiction film that takes place in the ruins of a dystopian civilization. It's not just we news junkies, the whole nation is transfixed. An unprecedented number of eyeballs are trolling the interwebs. Ratings for Fox News and MSNBC are shooting past the outer orbit of the moons of Mercury. Even such olden-timey formats as newspapers are flying off shelves. Wouldn't be surprised to hear that kindling and blanket sales are way up for those who remain partial to smoke signals. Every single day there's danger, intrigue, romance, treachery, internecine warfare, skulking, lurking, barking. No sex yet, but you know it's coming. It's like a soap opera with ugly people. The House Intelligence Committee, which is a bit of an oxymoron, has a chairman playing cloak and dagger on the White House grounds, receiving classified documents from staffers that he later relays to the president himself. Peter slipping Paul a note to give back to Peter's boss. Terrorism expert Clint Watts told the Senate Intelligence Committee, not as big an oxymoron, to follow the trail of dead Russians. This is House of Cards, with Kevin Spacey playing all the parts, meets James Bond. But not the cool young Daniel Craig James Bond, more like one of Roger Moore's last appearances. White House spokesman Sean Spicer creeps closer and closer to his inevitable televised breakdown. Won't be long before he shows up at a press briefing wearing his tie as a bandana with a knife gripped between his teeth. And now the former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn announces he wants immunity to testify. Immunity for what? And testify about what? Nobody knows. And we're only 2 months in. Stay tuned. This is going to make Legion look like Leave It to Beaver. For Let's Be Treasonable, I'm Will Durst.
Thank you, Will. And just a brief tangent. Have you guys been watching Legion on FX? We aren't getting paid to plug anything here. Awesome show. Highly recommend it for the panel and the listeners. But let's talk a little bit about what Will was discussing there, because Russia is still the big story, despite the consternation of the president and his administration. But I think, speaking for myself, and as Will alluded to, I am so happy there is a Senate investigation into Russian collusion with the Trump campaign, because what we're seeing with the House investigation is, for lack of a better term, deplorable.
Right? Yeah.
And any just thoughts off the cuff?
Well, when I saw Nunes representative, is he Nunez or Nunes?
I think
is it
Nunes.
Is it like jalapeno?
There's no tilde when you see it in the paper or the news, but a lot of people are saying Nunez.
Right? Did he take out the tilde just to be whiter? I don't know.
Yeah, well.
Career
Maybe he
choice.
did. So I'll just say Nunez, just to be like that. when I saw him, I was in Texas, and I saw it on the screen, and I was so upset. I'm like, why? Why is he doing this? Is he getting paid? Like, who would do that? Like, you want to get to the truth. You don't want to just, like, blow everything up by giving the president validation for his stupid, dumb wiretapping tweets.
But he did work on he worked on his campaign. So
well, he was on the transition team.
Well, I mean, so
still,
he worked with him. You know,
he's making removing that tilt account. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
He's going all the way with it.
But I mean,
so upsetting.
you know, how can I? And this is one of those questions. It sounds rhetorical because there really is no answer. But how can people still be buying this crap? You know, when it reminds me of the Simpsons episode when Marge is going into real estate. You know, and she's flipping through the book with Lionel Hutz, and there's a picture of a house on fire. She's like, that house is on fire. Motivated seller. You know, and it's I correct me if I'm wrong. But I think a lot of this, one of the stories that, because there is so much happening, one of the stories that got short shrift in the news this week, but I think is still fairly significant, is the Trump University settlement of $25 million was approved by a judge. So obviously there are people out there that are willingly like just eating at the trough. And accepting the bullshit.
They're out there selling their soul, left and right. We have, I mean, I don't care who you talk to, especially if you talk to, some people say, wow, man, there's a bunch of old white guys backing him. No, there's a lot of minorities out there backing Trump.
There are.
And
you know
they
what?
love exactly.
They hate each other.
They hate themselves.
All right, is that the big issue? Like, because, you know, and we've talked about this on the show before. I don't identify as white, not in a Rachel Dolezal way, but being a Jew from the Midwest, and enough people tell me, you're not one of us, that I don't want to be white, you know, but I do look this way, so I got to wear that. But is what, like, you know, because I know, you know, from growing up in Chicago as a Jew, just looking at real estate neighborhoods, there was always sort of a progression, you know, where like neighborhoods would get gentrified, and then, you know, sort of the Jews would move in, and then the Indians would move in, and then when things like started going on the downslope, then the blacks would move in. You know,
I know what I think it is.
No. I mean, I don't say that to sound racist, but you look at neighborhoods in Chicago, and there is, or at least there used to be. I've been out in LA for almost 20 years, so you know I haven't kept track of that. But there used to be the same progression, and you would see it in different neighborhoods.
Honestly, I feel like in South Asians that I know who supported Trump, I don't know many, but the ones I've come across, I think the motivation is Islamophobia. That's been my experience.
I was next to an Indian woman on a plane, and she lived in Arizona, and she said that her neighbor, also Indian, voted for Trump because of the tax break. You
know what? It could be. Okay, I've heard this. I've heard that. Our communities are so diverse, but there is a community of South Asians who have businesses, small businesses, and I think that they maybe perhaps bought into this lie that he was going to help them. I think that they're afraid of having a fair wage because then they have to pay their workers a fair wage, and I think that could be the motivation. I mean, Trump is going to be bad for them ultimately, and when that happens, I'm going to be there to laugh at them. But no, I'm going to love it. No, they deserve it. I have no sympathy for any person of color who voted for Trump.
They're
Zero
fine.
sympathy.
They're fine with throwing people under the bus just because they're getting a tax break. Yeah,
if you're a person of color who voted for Trump, you're like, I hate them more than white people.
I mean, they had.
I'm going to put it that way. I have no sympathy.
I mean, the Republicans had 7 years to fix Obamacare.
Yeah.
7 years, you didn't do it. And then what you come up with, you go with this Mickey Mouse deal, and you just go, we're just going to replace it. Well, what do you replace it with? You know, and you're forgetting that poor white guy out there, that dude out in rural America, hey, he's on Obamacare, and if you don't cover his ass, he's going to go to 8.
Yeah, those poor white guys. Like, we act like it's just the minorities getting the short shrift. Like, everybody is totally getting thrown under the bus.
You know,
all of us.
But how many times do you have to get hit by the wheels before you realize you're under the bus?
But, you know, this is what I think, too, that, like, there's different kinds of, like, all of us here, we have, like, a sense of, economics, tax systems, whatever, right? Yeah. So we're very much trying to live in the material world, what's real. Mm-hmm. But all of us are week, right? So identity matters a lot. So a lot of times identity trumps reality, right? So there's different things you can sell. You could sell people things, you could sell them houses, you could sell them cars. But I feel like the most powerful thing you could sell somebody is an identity, which is what Republicans have been doing for 7 years, saying we're going to get rid of Obamacare. What they were doing is selling a belief of power or philosophy or identity.
It's marketing.
Yeah, that they're marketing. Well, you're a marketer, you know.
Yeah, I do.
So they're selling. When you see a car commercial, they don't really say, well, "This is how long this car is known to last." This is blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
usually they show someone who's like driving free on a highway.
They're selling symbols. I remember in one of my marketing courses there was something about like Coors Light, and the reason their symbol is mountains is because they want people to think about health and exercise and good things. And so you imprint in people's minds psychologically. They put mountains because you click mountains and then you see Coors, and then so what you see Coors and you think good things, health. And you don't know that you're thinking that, but that's what's in there, and that's kind of what they're doing.
In a somewhat related story, because he was up for Secretary of Labor, what was it, Pudsner, Andy Pudsner, but he has stepped down as CEO of Carl's Jr. and Hardee's, and it was announced this week that they are going to stop doing their ads, which have become iconic, of sexy women in bikinis eating burgers.
No.
So
those ads are kind of gross, though. I'm kind of glad. They're pretty gross.
That was a very sarcastic.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know. But yeah, I guess the ads were kind of gross.
And they're models who
never
eat burgers. You know what I mean?
Never. They
These
would
are
not
women
look
that
like that.
the industry is forcing them to be so thin. Like, they're not eating
I don't know. I don't know
Well,
when I hit my mid-20s, I realized that like if I eat one burger on a weekend, I gain 5 pounds. Don't know where they come from because that burger is not 5 pounds, but I gain those 5 pounds. So they don't eat burgers.
Somehow it's bringing its friends in.
Yeah.
You know, the way they turned us into consumers. And that's another reason why they think that Trump works. He's a reality TV star. He's rich. And, it's like, I didn't watch it, but why would people watch Honey Boo Boo? I mean, that's how dumb our society. Honey Boo Boo became, so
a phenomenon.
I mean, the fact that people were fascinated watching this fat little girl run around, and they pay big money
drinking
to see
honey,
Oh my
Mountain
gosh!
Dew
And
shit.
and even the 18 kids and counting people. Same with them.
Yeah, why would you watch that? Why are
Ugh.
we watching the negativity of our society?
Are we gonna blame
Well,
TLC?
theoretically,
Are we gonna blame TLC for Trump now? I don't know.
well,
Hey, I think they had something to do with it.
I think it's part of the culture at large, though. And if you look at the psychology of these shows and basic human nature, these people give us someone to feel better than.
Yeah.
They do.
Is that why people like Trump?
Well, I don't know.
If that
I
loser
think
could come
it's-
so far.
They keep saying that, and they want this John Wayne white dude to come out and, we're gonna go down there, we're gonna kick their ass, Obama was weak, he didn't say this, or he didn't. Just because you curse a little bit and say something
Selling
crazy
a symbol
doesn't make you this great guy.
But that's exactly what we're saying, right? Selling a symbol, because John Wayne is a symbol,
right?
And
Yeah.
he sold them that symbol of.
Is that and he's selling them also a sense of like unity against the other people, and it's that sense of unity and like feeling safe with your other white.
But the
Well, but he's very like they
And people
do
of color
they
who wanna
speak
be
in
white.
code. It's not about white people. It's we're not anti-Jew. We're not anti-black.
yeah.
We're
We're
but
anti them, but
right
yeah.
them
But
the other.
But the ignorance is that here a guy has no teeth in his head, and he's morbidly obese or got diabetes. I don't want no Obamacare. We're gonna be Republican. We're gonna do it. Fool, you can't take care of yourself, and you're saying, but I'm gonna vote Republican. This does not work for you. And they continue. My sister lives in Florida. She is so angered because the people do not, they vote wrong all the time.
You know what it
And
also
they get
is.
pissed off.
They'd rather have that feeling, a feeling like, oh, look, our guy won. They'd rather have that than health.
It's
and they'd rather have
sports.
that than money.
It's a team mentality, and I think we're like programmed. Maybe it's in our nature, or maybe it's been like instilled in us. Because look at how people are with their sports teams and how diehard fans they are.
And they get nothing. You get nothing out of it.
You're not
You're not going to get
don't.
a cut of any of the money they're making.
No,
You're not an investor, and you're